Hey everyone, it's Trevor the Okayest Gamer here, and today we're looking at the Z13 Flow from ASUS, which is honestly the most impressive device that I've ever tested on this channel. And what makes this device so special is actually the APU that it comes with. This has the AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395, which is a part of the new Strix Halo line. So this is actually a generational leap. And I would say, when I say generational leap, like this actually feels like a massive improvement. The last few handhelds we've had, like the 6800U, we had the One X Player 2 and a few other devices, the AOK Zoe. Then we had the ROG Ally and the Legion Go, which were using the Z1 Extreme. There was like a 10-15% difference between the two, so not like a massive improvement. And then even the Z2 Extreme that we're expecting with the new MSI Claw A8 and the Legion Go 2, the Xbox ROG Ally, those are all going to be probably 10 to 20% better than the current generation, so not massive. This one is actually a massive jump. So like back in the day, it kind of reminds me of like when you get an iPhone. So let's say you had an iPhone 4 and then you upgraded to an iPhone 5, like you were seeing literally like a 2x performance jump, which is massive. So we're finally getting back to that, and I am super excited about that because I wonder what this is going to look like for the future of handhelds. So the performance, they say, is roughly like a 4060, 4070M, which is honestly wild that we have performance that's rivaling like a DGPU, a dedicated graphics. Now, of course, it's a laptop APU. It's not the desktop, so don't want to confuse that. But the fact that we're even comparing it is pretty wild. So this thing can run a lot of games at ultra settings. Most of the games I tested, and I'm going to show you a bunch, I'm running at the full 1600p resolution that the screen has. They're running at fairly high settings. So we're going to take a look at that later. I'm also going to test out the battery life. This thing has a 70 watt hour battery, but the battery life was a little disappointing, I'll say. And then of course, we're just going to talk about the device overall. Like I do really like it. It's the strongest tablet I've ever seen, and I think it's the strongest tablet on the market, but it also works very functionally as a laptop, and I do believe that this device could probably replace everything for the right user. One thing before we get started, full disclosure, this device was sent to me by ASUS, but it's a loaner unit. It's going to be sent back. I'm not going to be keeping it. And they also have no input on this review. So all of the thoughts are going to be my own. I just wanted to be fully transparent that this device I did not purchase, I was lent. So we're going to jump straight into game performance because I know that's something you guys are interested in. And then we're going to move on to like the device aesthetics, the feel of it, keyboard, and all that. So let's take a look at the game performance. First up is Cyberpunk 2077. We're playing at 1600p with FSR set to balanced, frame generation on, and we're playing at ultra settings. So far, we're able to get about 100 FPS at these settings. If you want to turn off frame generation, then you're getting closer to about 50 FPS with these settings. Next, we're taking a look at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and here we have 1600p with no upscaling, and we're playing at max settings. With these settings, we're able to get roughly 40 FPS at the peak, but most of the time it seems to be hanging around the high to mid 30s. If you want higher performance, you could always turn on resolution scaling. And now for Spider-Man 2, we have this at 1600p with FSR set to quality and frame generation on at very high settings. With frame generation turned off, we're sitting somewhere closer to like 55 to 60 FPS. For Doom the Dark Ages at 1600p nightmare settings and FSR set to quality with frame generation on, we're able to get somewhere in the mid 60s, sometimes up to 70 FPS. So these were the settings that I actually played this game at, and it seemed to perform pretty well. Didn't really notice any kind of input delay. Just make sure that you have AMD anti-lag on. And on to Expedition 33. This is a bit of a heavier game, so we're at 1600p with XeSS set to ultra quality and epic settings, and we're able to get just over 30 FPS. For God of War 2018, we're at 1600p with FSR set to quality and ultra settings. And with these settings, we're able to get over 60 FPS. So that's really all that you want. You can play this game pretty much the whole way through and not really have too many dips, although some of the heavier sections might go just below 60. Baldur's Gate 3 at 1600p with no upscaling and ultra settings is performing pretty decent. Like we're getting around 50 FPS, which I don't really see that happen on other handhelds, so it seems to be performing pretty well on the Z13 Flow. Now for Horizon Forbidden West, we're at very high settings, no upscaling, and 1600p, and we're getting around 60 FPS. I found that this game doesn't seem to respond well to upscaling, so I usually try to keep it off as much as I can. Thankfully, it plays great even at max settings. On to Enshrouded, here we can get roughly 30 FPS, and this is with FSR set to quality and the maxed out settings at 1600p. If you want to run this game closer to 60 FPS, you're definitely going to need to drop the settings or maybe lower the resolution. This game is actually surprisingly heavy, but we're able to get at least 30 FPS maxed out. Now to finish things off, we're going to try out Tainted Grail. So this game runs pretty good at 1600p medium settings. High settings will still hit 60 FPS, but can have moments where it dips just a little bit below. After seeing the game performance, I'm sure you can understand like why I'm so excited about this device as well as this APU. I really hope that we can see this in handhelds, but it is fairly power hungry. I don't know if that's the other components in the device or the APU itself. For the game test, I am running the 32 gigabyte model with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, so it is relevant. I did try at 4 gigs and I was getting a lot of stuttering. So if you pick up one of these, make sure you increase that VRAM to like at least 8 gigs, I would say. One other thing to mention for the gameplay is that I was playing plugged in, so I wasn't worried about battery life. I was getting like 80 or 90 watts. If you're playing this device plugged in, you're going to see like premium performance, like it works really well. When you're on battery life, you're not going to get the same performance. Like turbo mode is not 90 or 80 watts, it's down to about 50. And if you go down to silent mode, you're going to be closer to like the handheld performance territory. And that's at about like, I don't know, 25, 26 watts. But yeah, I did a couple tests really with just those two, with turbo mode and with silent mode. And for turbo mode, I tested that out at 50% brightness and 50% volume. And I just ran around, played Cyberpunk for a bit, and I lasted for about 47 minutes. So I do wish that it was a bit higher. It's a little bit low. Like I was hoping for like closer to an hour, but unfortunately, like with the settings I had, it just wasn't going to make it there. The second test that I did was silent mode, and this one I actually kind of made a mistake on the test. I had the brightness and volume at 100%. I just forgot to turn it down. So for that, I got 1 hour and 14 minutes. I think we could probably get closer to an hour and a half if I had adjusted the settings to optimize it a bit more, but a little bit better. You're going to get about handheld performance levels, but don't expect to get the same performance that I was showing in my gameplay. It's going to be closer to like an HX 370 roughly. And lastly, the one aspect about battery life that I didn't test, but I'll just tell you my experience, is actually just like general use, like watching YouTube videos, productivity, like using, let's say, Microsoft Word or Excel. In that case, you're going to get pretty much all day battery life as far as a work day. So when I took it to work, I didn't really need to charge it. I could just use it throughout the day. And I found that by the end of the day, I needed to charge it up, but I was getting about like six hours or so. Definitely a good option for that setting if that's something that you're also looking to use this for. We've taken a look at the game performance, the battery life, and I think at this point, like it's pretty obvious that this is truly a gaming focused device. And if you actually just take a look at the device, like it kind of screams gamer as well. If you look at it with like any of the products that you get from, the ROG line, the Republic of Gamers, they tend to have like really sharp edges and just kind of nice little accents that look kind of sleek, at least in my opinion. This is no exception. Like I've had a couple of other laptops that are, I would say lower end gaming laptops. The Z13 Flow though really does stand out because we have this nice aluminum frame. It just looks really sleek. At the back, we have this cool little window where you can actually see into the device, and it's lit up with RGB. Just a nice little addition. It's not that it's like functional, but it just makes it look really premium. One thing that I do like though is also the kickstand at the back. Like we have a 170-degree range of motion. And what's nice about that is you can lay the tablet down where it's almost like laying on the table, but you still have the ventilation. So it's really good if you're wanting to do like tabletop gaming. You could just place it down on the table and have it where it's relatively flat. And the keyboard case that comes with it's really nice. It protects the screen and it's got this nice like soft feel, like a soft touch kind of feel to it. and it just magnetically clicks onto the device. And I'm not showing you in this video because I had just tested it off camera, but I've actually lifted up the device by the keyboard, so it's a very strong magnetic connection. The device, in my opinion, looks pretty good. It's not just about the looks though. The I/O that this thing has is very complementary to using it as a gaming tablet. So what we have here is we have two USB 4 ports that you can use for like eGPU, for an example. I tested that with my Morphine G1, which worked brilliantly. It actually boosted the performance. And it's not just for eGPUs. Like if you want to do data transfer, let's say use an external SSD for gaming, like you're going to get that full transfer speed as long as you have the right SSD and the right cable. It's a really great combo. We also have on the tablet an HDMI port, so you could just plug it right in if you want to connect to a monitor. It's just super easy. We have a headphone jack. We have a micro SD card slot that's worked perfectly fine. I've had no issues with that. And a USB-A port, because this is a PC and I have a number of accessories that are USB-A, so being able to utilize that where I can't on a lot of my handhelds, it is really nice to see that on this device here. And lastly, the other thing that I really like that's just very accessible is the SSD. So you can basically lift up the kickstand and you have super easy access. Just take out a couple screws and then you can see the SSD. That's a 2230 size. The device looks great, has a really nice I/O to pair up with it, but the keyboard is something that I want to talk a little bit about. The keys themselves are actually very satisfying to use. Like I was kind of surprised how well it worked. It does feel like I'm just typing on a regular keyboard. There is a little bit of flex to it though, but I actually found that I kind of like that. Like it just, I don't know why, it made it, it just worked. Like it felt really good. You also have this really large trackpad, so you could do multi-gestures and move around fairly easy. It's on some of these tablet devices that I've used before, like the One X Player X1. It's a very small trackpad, and oftentimes you end up kind of bumping it with your thumb, and you get those accidental presses. I didn't really have that issue here. Like I didn't find that I was accidentally bumping the trackpad, so really good implementation of a keyboard here. Honestly, top notch. That strong magnetic hold is really nice. You're not worried about the keyboard coming off. You do also get some RGB with it. It's very dim, so if you're in a dark room, you'll probably see it, but if you're in, let's say, like an office setting, like the RGB is probably not going to be like super obvious. But, you know, in an office setting, you probably don't really need that RGB. Like you can see your keys, you can see the letters. So as far as keyboards go, like you're not going to be lacking here. You're not going to feel like you're missing out. It really does tie the device together to really feel like a laptop. And honestly, this device really could replace your laptop. Like I don't think you're going to be missing anything if you switched over. The screen is really nice. Like it's not OLED, but you have 180 hertz refresh rate. So it's very smooth. It has adaptive sync. So if you're playing games that have any kind of like jittering or the frame rate's a little bit unstable, you're not really going to notice that. I found one thing that's really nice about it, and I'm not like a big screen buff guy, like I don't have like all the stuff to test it properly, but what I've kind of heard and what the specs are is that this thing has a like extremely fast response time. Like I think it's like 3 milliseconds or 2 milliseconds. Like it's really, really fast. The screen's also a 16:10 aspect ratio with 1600p resolution, which honestly works great for this size of a screen. Like it looks really sharp. And as you saw in the games, like the games look really brilliant on this thing because you have that really sharp display. And because of the screen size, like there's no need for something higher than that. Like you're going to get the sharpest image that your eye is likely to perceive when you're playing this thing. The colors seem fairly accurate. I have no complaints. You know, the darks, they're not bad. Like they're not OLED, but they still look good. And honestly, aside from, you know, maybe having an OLED in the future, that would probably be the only thing that I would change about this display. The last couple things to talk about as far as the device itself is the speakers and the fan. So I didn't really do like very in-depth testing of the speakers, but what I will say is I'll just share my very quick opinion on it. And the speakers, like they sound great. Like they're good. There's no complaints. I would say that, you know, they're loud enough. They're not like overly loud, but they're definitely an acceptable level for what I think you're paying for this device. The fan noise is another thing though. If you're playing in turbo mode, especially when plugged in, they do ramp up. Like you have two fans in this device, and it really can cycle up if you're pushing it. Like the temperatures can get up there like in the 80s. Sometimes I've seen it go up to like 90. So if you've had the fan curves turned down, you're going to get higher temps. So I tend to, not prefer to work with higher temps. I'd rather have a little bit of a louder fan. So the device overall sounds amazing, like great performance, great screen, keyboard, aesthetically beautiful. How much does this thing actually cost? Because that's definitely a factor. Now, of course, prices are subject to change. The range is, I think, between like about 2100 USD to about, I think it's like 2700 for the top model. So definitely not a device that you're going to want to pick up if you're on a budget, but if you do have the extra cash, like you do really get, I would say, like, get a worthwhile device for what you're paying for. Really, it's that versatility of having a tablet and just overall the features that you get with this device that I think make it definitely worth considering. So if you're in the market for a laptop, like this could honestly replace your laptop. It could replace your handhelds if you're okay with tabletop gaming, or you can always stretch out a controller like some people have done and, make it into a handheld, although it will be quite heavy. Now that we've gone over this device and talked about, a number of the features, we've tested out the game performance, battery life, what do I actually think of this device? What do I like about it? What are some things that could improve? And who is this device actually for? So what do I like about this device? The first thing I'll say is actually just the aesthetics. Like the device looks beautiful. It just feels premium, really, like whether it's the shell, whether it's the keyboard, or even just that nice little window where you can see into the device. It's just a nice little touch. So I really like the look of the device. The keyboard feels very premium. The cover is great. Really, I have no complaints about how this device looks. And honestly, I could use it at work. I could use it at home. It's very gamery in its look, but not too much so that people are going to give you weird looks at the office. The next thing that I like is the APU. I'm just really impressed with what AMD has pulled off here with the AI Max Plus 395, if I'm getting that name right. The performance for the games, it looks beautiful on this display. The 1600p, being able to actually play the games at that with minimal FSR and being able to put your settings to like ultra in many games. The next thing that I would say I like is the display itself. Like I do wish we had OLED on this, but I think with the features that we're getting, like the 180 hertz, the adaptive sync, and just a 1600p very like sharp display, I'm kind of okay that it's not OLED. And so what are some things that can improve? Well, I would like to see next year's model, or whenever they come out with the next version, is a larger battery if possible. Like this one had a 70 watt hour battery, which for this chip was a little bit lackluster in its life when you're playing a little bit higher TDP or playing in turbo mode. Getting 1 hour is a little bit tough. Going down to the silent mode and only getting about an hour and a half, I got an hour and 15 because I had the brightness up, but it would be nice to have it a little bit longer. If you're using it for productivity, it's great, but really most of us are going to use this for gaming, and that's where I would love to see 2 hours of battery life at least. So they would have to probably put in something a little bit larger, or possibly maybe the next AMD chip's a little more efficient, but we'll have to wait to see what comes of that. The next thing that I'd like to see improved is if we had the 2280 size SSD, like you can increase the capacity up to like 8 terabytes, where with the 2230, we're just capped at 2 terabytes. So I'd love to see that in the next one. It is something that I kind of wish was different. Another thing that I think, for me, it's not a big deal, but I could see that it could be improved for others, is that fan noise. Like they do tend to ramp up when you're pushing it. I know that you have to cool the device. There's not much they can do, but if there's ways that they could address that, possibly, look into other fans that are maybe a little bit quieter, or I'm not like super technical when it comes to fans, but it'd be kind of nice to see if there was something that they could do to make it just a little bit quieter. And that's my thoughts on what I like about the device, what could be improved. Who this is for, honestly, is I think somebody that probably has a bit of a higher budget for a device. And I would say that people that are looking to downsize their laptop to something a little bit more portable that they could just carry around. If they're looking to use a tablet that's mixed with a PC, this is definitely the best option you're going to find on the market. But also if somebody, let's say, travels a lot for work, like it's very portable, does not take up a lot of space. And if you're a gamer, you have that ability to game when you're at your hotel or wherever. So I do think that this device really could replace a number of different devices. Like if you have a controller and you're fine with that, like it could replace a handheld. It definitely could replace your laptop. I think that's probably the most obvious device that you could replace. And honestly, if you have an eGPU or if you're fine with the performance you're getting here, like honestly think you could probably replace your desktop. Like, I haven't had a AAA game that I couldn't play on this and get decent performance. So great device. I definitely recommend it if you have the budget and if it fits your needs, that some of the needs I've described. I am really sad to have to send this device back. I had a great time testing it, and thanks again to ASUS for giving me that opportunity. I do have some other videos that are coming out soon. I'm going to be testing this against the HX370, which is the strongest handheld APU that we currently have as of the time we're recording this. So we'll be able to test the strongest iGPU versus the strongest handheld iGPU. So stay tuned to the channel for that one. I'll be hopefully doing that one soon. And yeah, let me know your thoughts or if there's any games or whatever that you want to test in that video. And that's going to wrap it up for this one. If you guys have any thoughts on this device, let me know in the comments. Do you think that they're going to be able to put this in handhelds, this APU? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and thank you for watching.